Okay. Okay, so welcome to class. So we will start um, off pretty easy today. We won't do anything crazy. Okay. And let me see. So this will be our textbook for this class. If you were not in attendance at the orientation, that's okay. Um, Someone else wants to come into class. Okay, I will add you to attendance, Silvana.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, we're just getting started. 1 second. Someone is having trouble getting into the class, so I'm just trying to help them. Let me see. Okay, so if you did not make it to the orientation, that's okay. All we did there was set up the technology, and that was pretty much it. Okay, now I'm going to add, should we know? Okay. I'll add you to our attendance. Okay, so just a little bit before we begin with this class. So this will be a 12-week course. Okay, so we'll be starting from the very beginning of this textbook and we'll work our way all the way through. Okay. Oh, can you hear me now, Daily? ¿Me escucha? Okay. I see some more people came in.
Hola, sí, pero el micrófono de alguien más está encendido y se escucha mucho feedback.
Oh, ok, vamos a ver. Ok, ¿está mejor ahorita?
Sí, gracias.
Okay. Okay. So, um, this will this whole entire class will be in English. Okay, because when you go to take your exam or your interview for citizenship, it will be in English. So the whole entire course will be in English. However, I do speak Spanish, so if you have any questions, I'm happy to help in Spanish to help you understand things better. Okay, if you do have any questions, if you don't speak English or Spanish, then maybe I could use a translator to try to help that way. All right, so this will be our textbook. Um, if you do not already have access to our Google Classroom, right now I'm going to put a link in our chat. So I'm going to put this link, and the link that I just put into our Google chat, our Google Meet chat, will bring you to Google Classroom, okay, which looks kind of like this. Let me see. So it will look like this. So you can access all of our resources in our class. We have our classwork, which has our orientation materials that you may have missed. In this part, you can see our textbook, and from there, you can access the textbook that we'll look at in a second from there. Okay. And also, there's other study materials as well. Okay. So we have all the chapters from the book, and there's some games, different vocabulary terms that we will talk about, right? And we do this for every single chapter, all right? Also, something that's important to know is that um, we will be recording every single class. So if you are not able to make it to one of the classes, then you will be able to go to the chapter you missed, right? So today will be chapter 1, our first class. where we will talk about the U.S. Constitution, right? And we will, if you missed this class, you can go to the class recordings, click here, and you can see the classes right there. So these two videos are from, last semester, so from back in February, right? But this class right now is being recorded so that anyone that may have missed it or signs up late can access the class, okay? Anyone have any questions about how to join the Google Classroom or what it is? Any questions about that?
Yeah, I don't have access to that.
Okay, so do you see where there is a chat on your screen?
Mm, no, sorry, it's the first time I'm using this and I don't see this chat.
Okay, so let me show you guys how to actually access this. So,
Oh, I got it.
oh, you got it? You see the link?
Yeah,
The link?
yeah, sorry.
No, you're okay. So if you click that link, you will be able to access the Google Classroom from there. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other
Disculpa,
questions? Yeah.
disculpa, has mandado el link para poder descargar y poder entrar a esa página, ¿no?
Sí, en el función de chat de aquí en la pantalla, yo puse el enlace para accesar el Google Classroom.
Okay,
Okay.
gracias. Thank you.
Yep. De nada. You're welcome. Okay. So this is what it looks like, and you can access a lot of different things on here. Something I recommend is to take the English pretest and the citizenship pretest. Okay, so this is not something that's graded. There will be no grades in this class or anything like that. It is simply so that you are able to measure yourself. All right, so if you take these two tests now, so this one tests your English, and then at the end of the class, you can take it again and see how you improved. Okay, for citizenship, right? So we will be learning all the 100 questions needed to pass the citizenship interview. So if you take this test, you can see how much you know right now. And then once you finish the class, you can take it again to see how much you have learned. Okay, so it's kind of just a way to see how much you know now, and then see at the end of the class how much you know at that point. Okay, so very basic stuff right there. And then just to show you guys our textbook before we begin with the content, let's see if I go to our textbook. And so for some of you that were at the orientation, you've already seen this before. But for those who are not at the orientation, you might not recognize this book. All right, so this is what we will be using, and you can use this as well. Let me see. I will put in our chat a link to this textbook as well, so that you can access the textbook, and you could find it on Google Classroom or also through this link that I'm about to send. Let's see. All right, so I just sent the link that will lead you to the textbook. Okay, and so all the chapters are lined out right here. So we'll start chapter 1 today, and throughout the 12 weeks, we will go all the way down to chapter 12, and then at the end, we will have a little bit of review. Okay, and so today we'll talk about the U.S. Constitution, and you can see these numbers here, right? And so that will tell you which number, which question this sentence answers. Okay, so it says the U.S. Constitution was written in 1787. If we go down, that answers, right, this question right here, right, because it has the same number next to it. Okay, so that's kind of the easiest way of how you can use your textbook. And you can practice reading, practice writing, and obviously practice the content and practice the questions. And also, one last thing I'll show you about the textbook is if you go all the way down to the bottom, you will be able to see all the questions, okay? So these are all 100 questions that you will hopefully know before you go to do your citizenship interview, okay? Because they will ask you about these questions. And so it goes all the way from 1, and it shows the answers all the way down to question 100, okay? And so the reason of this class is that you are able to is that we will go over all of these questions in a easy kind of way, an understandable kind of way. You can ask me any questions you may have about the content. And also, a great thing about this class as well is that we do not just offer the class, but we also offer legal help. Okay, so now I will show you guys who we work with. They are called Holy Cross Ministries, okay? So all of you want to become U.S. citizens, and obviously there is a legal process to doing that. You have to go through the government, right? So this organization called Holy Cross Ministries is the organization we work with. The lawyer we work with is named Lorena, and as you can see, they have a legal immigration program, right? And if you have any questions about the legal process, you can contact them from their phone number. Oh, yes, I will send the link again. Which link, Deeli? For the Google Classroom or the textbook? Let's see. Oh, for the textbook. Okay. So I will send this again. Let me try to do... Okay, I'll send a different link that might work better. Okay, so I just sent that link. Let me know if that works. But if you have any questions about the legal process, or you need to fill out your application, your N400 application for citizenship, you can contact Holy Cross Ministries at their phone number. Just mention that you were in this class, right, the Utah Citizenship Initiative class, and they will help you for free. So there's no cost associated with this resource at all, okay? So if you have any legal questions, I cannot answer them because I'm not a lawyer, but they will be able to answer them, okay? If you just mention that you're from the Utah Citizenship Initiative class, they'll help you with the legal process of citizenship. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about what we just talked about? Maybe the legal process or anything like that, or the Google Classroom or the textbook? All right, nice. All right, and once again, if you have any questions, you can always contact them. Oh, let's see, the link doesn't work. Okay, for the textbook, you mean? The link for the textbook? Okay, let's see. That is weird. Let me try. You know what? If you go to, so let me show you this. If you go to the Google Classroom link, I don't know if that one worked for you, but if you go to that link and you go to class orientation, you can find the textbook right here. And that might be an easier way to do it. Just right there from the Google Classroom, if the link isn't working. If not, I can try to send you a link maybe tomorrow. I'll write this down somewhere so that you have the textbook. Okay. All right, so now just going on with the content for the class. So we won't do anything crazy today, just kind of a little bit of a warm-up to let you guys know how the class will be. All right? Okay, so before we begin, we will do view. slideshow. Okay. So before we begin with talking about the U.S. Constitution, what do you guys already know about the United States Constitution? Is there anything you know already about the U.S. Constitution, or no?
Repeat, please.
Do you know anything about the U.S. Constitution?
Is it the oldest in the world?
Yeah, it's the oldest document that sets up a. So the United States is the oldest constitutional democracy in the world. So it is the oldest constitution in the world. Yeah, that's correct. Do you know what the Constitution does? And it's okay if you don't, because we'll learn about it today. But I'm just wondering if anybody knows what it does already. Have you heard about the Constitution, at least?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So if you've already heard about it, all right, then it'll be a lot easier to learn about it, all right? So hopefully this will be you guys at the end of this class. You'll be holding up your citizenship documents and everything, taking pictures at the oath ceremony. It all starts with today when we're learning about the Constitution of the United States. Okay. So our objectives today of what we'll learn. All right. So we'll learn about what the Constitution is. Okay. We will understand when and why it was written. We will identify the parts of the Constitution. Right, there are different parts, just like how a book has different chapters. The Constitution has different kind of chapters to it as well. And we will also learn who wrote it, who wrote the Constitution, and where they wrote the Constitution. Okay, and everything we'll learn in here will be associated with, I believe, 6 questions, 6 of our 100 questions that you'll need to know to pass your citizenship interview. Okay? So we'll start with some vocabulary of things that we will be learning about before we start learning about the Constitution. Okay? And so these are the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6 vocabulary words we will need to know in order to be prepared for this lesson. Okay? Has anyone heard of these words before? I know the Constitution we've heard of, right? Are any of these brand new words for you that you've never seen before? Or are they familiar?
It's familiar for me.
It's familiar? Okay. Any new words for anybody that you may not understand yet? Okay. That's good if everyone's familiar with these words. Okay. So we'll go one by one talking about each one. Okay. Just to make sure we understand each word. So Constitution, right? So the United States Constitution, specifically what we'll be talking about today. So they are the rules for the U.S. government. Okay. And the way I like to explain this is that just like how sports have different rules, right? So FIFA has the rules of the game for soccer or football, however you might call it, right? And they have them written down, and the referees have to study the rules of the game. And especially as a fan or somebody that might play the sport, you will have to know the rules of the game, because without the rules, nothing will make any sense, right? Only goalkeepers can hold the ball with their hands. To score, you kick the ball in the net, you only get 1 point, right? Those are important rules to play soccer or football, right? So same thing for the Constitution. The Constitution are just the rules for our government. It tells us what our government does and what it cannot do, right? Pretty simple. And then there's the founders, right? The founders, which sometimes are called the founding fathers. And these are the leaders who created the U.S. government. Okay, way back 300 years ago. These are the founders or the leaders who created the United States and our government that we have today. Now, does anyone recognize any of these faces here in this picture?
George Washington.
Yeah, George Washington is here in the middle. Anybody else that looks familiar? You recognize them?
I kind of recognize them, but I'm really bad with the names. So
One of them was one of these guys was. There's a very popular Broadway show about them that you may have heard of.
Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton. So this guy right here is Alexander Hamilton, right? And then I'm gonna be honest. These guys, this guy right here, this one, I have no idea who those are. But this guy up here, does he look familiar?
Yes, he does, but I'm not sure about his name.
What have you seen? Where have you seen him though? Where have you seen this?
I noticed in a dollar bill. I think it's the $20 bill. No.
No, does anyone know which dollar bill he's on? This guy right here.
100. The 100.
100.
Yes.
There he
yes.
is, 100. He's on the $100 bill, right? Benjamin Franklin. So if you ever listen to a rap song and they say, I've got a lot of Benjamins, then there you go. They got a lot of $100 bills because Benjamin Franklin is on the $100 bill. So this is Benjamin Franklin right here. All right. So all these guys helped create the United States and create the government that we have, right? The Constitution that we have. Okay. An amendment is a fancy way of just saying a change or addition to the Constitution. Okay. So just in normal English, in normal plain English, if we were to say to amend something, right? So just block out MENT, just block it out, just this part, amend. It's just a fancy way of saying change. Okay. So amend basically means to change. So an amendment is a change to something. Does that make sense? Okay, so an amendment is just a change to something, right? But when we're talking about the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, more specifically of the United States, right? When we refer to or we talk about an amendment, we would be talking about a change or addition to the Constitution. Okay, so based on the picture down here, how many amendments do we have?
27.
27, perfect, yep. So you can see all of them down here. All right, and you don't need to know this yet, but does anyone know what the name or what we call the first 10 amendments? There's a specific name for the first 10 amendments. It's okay. We'll get to that later. I was just curious to know if anyone already knows that, but we'll get to that probably on Thursday. All right, or no, maybe today. No, probably Thursday. Yeah, but there are 27 amendments. That would be something that you'll need to know later on in this course. We will talk more in detail, more specifically, more in depth about some of these amendments. Okay, not all of them, but some are very important to understand American history. All right. Okay, so the next one, convention. A convention is just a big meeting, okay, of people that come together over a shared interest or a shared purpose. So it's just a big meeting. So a convention could be, these people on the left, the founders or the founding fathers, meeting together to create our new government. Or it could also mean these people over here just having fun, dressing up crazy or whatever. All right. So a convention is just a big meeting. Okay. And that's going to be important coming up later today. Later in the lesson, we'll talk about a certain convention that happened a long time ago with the founders. Okay. So a convention is just a big meeting. All right. Preamble. Preamble can kind of be hard to pronounce sometimes. But when we talk about the preamble to the Constitution, to the United States Constitution, that just simply means the first part that explains the Constitution. Okay, so if we go back, we see, so this is kind of the paper that it was written on. This is what it looks like. If you go to Washington, D.C. today and you see the Constitution in real life, the ones that the founders wrote on, so you'll see this right at the top, we the people. And this part right here, that says Article 1. So that's kind of like the first chapter of our Constitution, right? But before that, you have all these words up here, right? So if you have ever read a book, which hopefully everyone's read a book before, you will get, you open the book and you have sometimes a prologue, right? And that is kind of what the preamble is. It's kind of a prologue for the book, right? For the Constitution. And then it starts off with the articles, right? Which are basically the chapters. Okay. So the preamble just kind of explains what the Constitution will be about. It is an introduction to the Constitution. Okay. So reading this down here, so the preamble to the Constitution of the United States. It's very short, not long. It just says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So if you are now thinking, okay, I want to quit this class, I don't understand anything that he just said. I didn't understand this for a long time. Even people that know English don't understand it. So you don't need to understand this word for word. I will say the most important part of the preamble are the first three words, okay? Are we the people? Okay, that's the most important thing. It doesn't say, we the powerful. It doesn't say we the rich. It says we the people. Okay, so that's very important to know because it's important for our history and for understanding our culture, American history, all that kind of stuff. Okay? All right. I believe this is, so this is the last vocabulary word for today. Okay? And that's self-government. All right? So people choose their leaders. Okay? So just as we just saw, we the people, right? We the people choose our leaders, right? And that is called self-government because you are governing yourself. You are choosing yourself what kind of government you would like to have, right? It's not just the rich people or just the powerful people choosing what happens. It is the people, everybody in the country that is able to vote, chooses who will become the senators, representatives, the president, things like that, okay? So that's the idea of self-government, okay? So just to recap on the vocabulary words, so we had Constitution, the rules for the U.S. government, founders, or the founding fathers, you could say, leaders who created the U.S. government, amendment, which is a change or addition to the Constitution, convention, which is just a big meeting. Preamble, right, which is the first part that explains the Constitution. And self-government means that people choose their leaders. Okay, does anyone have any questions so far about the vocabulary words, about how to pronounce them, what they mean a little bit more clearly? Any questions about the vocabulary words so far? Okay, so since we don't have any questions about the vocabulary words, we will go on. Okay, so simply stated, what is the U.S. Constitution? Okay, so the U.S. Constitution is the highest law in the U.S. Okay, the highest law in the United States. So what might this mean? The highest law in the United States. So this means that nothing goes over the Constitution. Okay, so whatever is in the Constitution, that is what must be followed. All right. An example of this, right, might be that a state will try to make a law that goes against the Constitution. Okay, so let's say, our Constitution says everyone has the freedom, has freedom of speech, right? You can say whatever you want. But then the state of Utah decides to make a law that says you can no longer curse, you can no longer say bad words in the state of Utah, right? State law is below the Constitution. So you must always follow what is stated in the Constitution. Okay? So whatever's in the Constitution is what we must follow. Okay, the Constitution also explains how the government works. Okay, so explains how the government works. Very simple. Just like, down here, the rule book of our government, right? So it protects people's rights. And it also is the rule book for our government. Okay, so it does all four of these things, which are very important things in order to organize our government. Okay, so it's the highest law in the U.S. It explains how the government works. It protects people's rights, and is the rule book of our government. Okay? Does anyone have any questions about this part? About what this might mean? Or maybe you need some examples to understand a little better. Any questions about this part?
No.
Okay. All right. So you might be wondering what's in the Constitution, right? That says all these things that we must follow. So we'll get to that in a second. All right. We'll get to that in a little bit. So kind of the same example. Our government has rules, just like football or soccer, whatever you might call it. Okay. So in the Constitution is what sets up those rules. So just like in a sport, right? This one at the top, offsides, right? This one, picture at the bottom, one of my worst memories from childhood as someone that's Mexican, no era penal still. But so in football, only the goalkeeper can use their hands. And in football, you cannot kick somebody to the ground, for example, right? And that is just like how in the government we have certain rules as to what you can do as a person living in the United States. Okay? Okay, so this one's pretty simple to remember. All right, so when was the Constitution written? So the Constitution was written in 1787. All right, and something that is a lot of the times confused, and I'll just state this right now, is to remember that it is the Constitution that we're talking about. Okay, so the Constitution was written in 1787. As we continue this course, we will learn about many different documents, right? Many different things that were written that are important to our government and our history, okay? The Constitution is probably the most important, maybe the second most important, right? And another really important document is called the Declaration of Independence. Has anyone heard of the Declaration of Independence, or does that sound?
Yes.
Yeah, so a lot of you might have heard of the Declaration of Independence, right? And there are two very different documents, okay? So a lot of people in the classes that I've had in the past, right, will always get confused between the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, all right? So just for now, remember that the Constitution, right, sets up our government, right? The first three words of the Constitution are "We the people," okay? And it was written in 1787, sets up our government. First three words are "We the people." Okay, very important to remember, because if you get this stuck in your brain now, it will be you won't be as confused in the future, okay, when we talk about the Declaration of Independence. Okay, so who wrote the Constitution and where? Where did they write the Constitution and who wrote it? So this one is probably not surprising. So the Constitution was written by the Founding Fathers, right? And the Constitution was written at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, okay? And so this is the Constitutional, or what is called Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Okay, so if you ever visit Philadelphia, you can visit Independence Hall. So real quick, just to get an understanding of what this is and that where it was written, we'll watch a quick video that it kind of explains Independence Hall, its importance, and just to get a feel for what it was, okay? So we'll now watch this. All right. I'll slow this down a little bit.
If you're in Philadelphia, then you're on American Revolutionary Ground Zero. Independence Hall, the birthplace of the Declaration of Independence, is right in downtown Philly. Inside these hallowed walls are where America's founding fathers feverishly debated the tenets of the world's first constitutional democracy and plotted insurrection against the British Crown.
My name is William Watson. I'm a National Park Ranger at Independence National Park in Philadelphia. Now, when you come here to Independence Hall, you're going to see, most importantly, the birthplace of the United States. You're going to see the original building. You have the room where the Declaration of Independence is debated and signed, so it's the birth of the United States. You also have the room 12 years after that where the Constitution of the United States is debated and signed.
On June 14th, 1775, the Second Continental Congress, with representatives from all 13 original colonies, nominate George Washington as Commander-in-Chief of the Army and set on the road towards drafting the world's most famous, strongly worded letter.
That's where the Second Continental Congress took place, and that's where they argued and voted in secret with the shutters closed for that Declaration of Independence.
This is the assembly room where independence is debated and declared in 1775 and 76. It's where 12 years after that, the United States Constitution is debated between May and September of 1787.
Formerly known as the State House of Pennsylvania, Independence Hall most likely got its current name from the French General Lafayette, a man instrumental in helping the colonists defeat the British.
He visited the State House of Pennsylvania, and when he came out, he called it the Hall of Independence. So he may be the guy who named it.
Philly was like the place to be during the period between the writing of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. All the greats were there. Jefferson, John Adams, Samuel Adams, Washington, Patrick Henry, and of course, the most famous local,
Benjamin Franklin is here for both occasions. Franklin is one of the most revered statesmen, inventors, scientists in the world at that time. He's here for the Declaration of Independence debates for the Constitutional Convention 12 years later.
turns out Jefferson had some help writing the Declaration.
There was John Adams, there was Benjamin Franklin, there was Robert Livingston from New York, there was Roger Sherman from Connecticut, and then there was Thomas Jefferson. And Jefferson is probably, of course, the main writer of this document. People know Jefferson as the main author today.
Did you know there are over 80 changes to Jefferson's version of the Declaration? He made some final tweaks that really made it spectacular.
Jefferson was so despondent because they made so many changes.
Okay, so that now they're starting to talk about the Declaration of Independence, but that we're not focusing on yet. All right. But the main point is so that you guys can see Independence Hall. Has anyone been to Philadelphia before or no? Nobody's been to Philadelphia. So if you go to Philadelphia, which I went, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years ago, and you can go to inside and you can see where the Constitutional Convention, right? So this over here, the Constitutional Convention, you can see where this happened, right? And so they showed a little bit of that in the video. And it's kind of cool, right? I like the museums and things like that. So that way you can easily remember history, right? If you're there in person where it happened. All right. So just to recap, so who wrote the Constitution and where? The Constitution was written by the Founding Fathers, right? This is them writing the Constitution. And it was written at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, right? And so convention, what does convention mean?
A meeting with a lot of people in the same room.
Yeah. So what would be a constitutional convention then?
A meeting where the founding fathers discuss the things about the Constitution and
Yeah.
the rules and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Just same thing how, a comic book convention would be people getting together to discuss comic books, or a car convention would be people coming together to talk about cars, right? So the Constitutional Convention was a bunch of people, the founders, getting together, talking about, debating, and creating the Constitution. Okay? So that was the Constitutional Convention. All right. Okay, so now this is a lot of information on here. So we'll start off right here, looking at this part right here. So number one, so there's parts of the Constitution. There are really three major parts, right? So the first will be the preamble, right? Will be the preamble to the Constitution. And what are the first three words of the preamble?
We the people.
We the people. Yep, so those are the first three words. And this is the preamble over here. It's written out right there. So if you'd like to read it again, there it is, right? And then there are, after the preamble, which is kind of like the introduction or the prologue, right? If we're thinking about the Constitution like it's a book, right? And so next would come the 7 articles, of the Constitution. And so if we're thinking of the Constitution like a book, if we're thinking of it as if it's a book, then the articles would be the chapters, right? Each book has different chapters, and each chapter in a book is about something different, right? So just like in a book, the Constitution has 7 different chapters, which are written down and called articles, right? And they each talk about different things. So if we look down here on this bottom right side of the screen, right? So the 7 articles would be, so the first one would be talking about the legislative branch. And if you don't know what any of these mean, that's okay, because we'll talk about a lot of these tomorrow. Okay, we'll continue talking about or not tomorrow, on Thursday, sorry. We'll continue talking about this on Thursday, right? So the first one, Article 1 or Chapter 1, the legislative branch. Article 2 or Chapter 2, the executive branch. 3, judicial branch. 4, relations among states. 5, the amendment process. 6, national debts, national supremacy, oaths of office. And the last one, 7, requirements for ratification. Okay, so now these might be some words that you might not have seen before, but that's okay. We'll talk about this later on in the class, right? But this is how the founders structured, right? Created the chapters, organized, I should say. This is how the founders organized our government, the rules of our government, right? So just like how over here, FIFA might put, Chapter 1, the meaning of a foul, right? The founders put Chapter 1, the legislative branch, right? So it's just a way of organizing each topic, okay? And we'll learn about each individual topic as we go throughout the course. So if you don't understand it, that's okay, okay? And then the last part of the Constitution are, of course, the 27 amendments. Okay, so there are 27 amendments. And I'll keep saying that over and over again because it's one of our questions. And I'll say it a lot of times so you never forget it. So 27 amendments to the Constitution. All right. We will not talk about all of these in this class, but we will talk about a few of them that are very, very important. One of the most important ones, if not the most important amendments, would be the First Amendment, freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition, right? So that gives us the freedom to practice any religion, be Christian, be Muslim, be an atheist, not have any religion, right? Freedom of speech, to say what we want. Freedom of press, to print or write whatever we want. Freedom to assembly, right? To protest. Freedom to petition, to tell the government what we would like. Okay, so even that one amendment has 5 different very important rights. Okay, so when we look back on what the Constitution does, we look down at these three. So explains how the government works, right? So explains how the government works. Which part of the Constitution do you think explains how the government works? Which part?
The articles?
Yeah, it would be the articles. That would be more of explaining how it works, right? It sets up all these different rules, right? The relations among states, right? Talking about our debts, how to create amendments. That's kind of explains how the government works, right? So protects people's rights. Which part of the Constitution would that be that protects people's rights?
The amendments?
Yeah, the amendments. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So the amendments would be the ones that mainly protect people's rights. Okay. So that's something very important to remember. A lot of people talk about the Constitution and maybe how great it is, how bad it is, right? But it's important to remember all the Constitution does is it tells us how, it's just the rules, tells us how the government is supposed to work, right? Very boring stuff. And it gives us our rights, which is boring but important, right? So that's important to remember. But yeah, so the part of the Constitution that would explain how it works would be the 7 articles, right? Boring stuff. And the part of the Constitution that protects people's rights would be the 27th Amendment. And notice how one important detail, it says protects people's rights, right? It doesn't say protect citizens' rights or, just citizens or just people born in the United States. It's people, right? Everybody. If you're in the United States, you are protected by our Constitution and by our amendments. Okay, so that's something important for everyday living that's important to remember. Okay? All right, so any questions so far about the parts of the Constitution, who wrote it and where, when was it written, or any questions about that so far? Okay. All right. And also, y también, si alguien tiene una pregunta en español, puedo contestar en español también, si tiene una pregunta sobre eso. Okay? All right. So preamble and we the people, very important, this part. We the people of the United States of America, it just means all people are in charge. All right. So we the people, all people are in charge. And this is very closely related to one of our vocabulary words, right? Self-government, right? Self-government. So when you go to your interview and you want to impress the person that is there, you want to impress the person that's interviewing you, and they might ask you this question, what are the first 3 words of the Constitution? If you say we the people, and that means self-government, you will definitely impress them. Because that's something that not even Americans understand, that have lived here all their lives. All right, so we the people means that all people are in charge. Everybody. Citizens, non-citizens, rich, poor, everybody. In a perfect world. Okay, so now we're just going to quickly check our comprehension. All right, so just to start out with, let's see if I can do this so I can edit it. All right, so let me zoom in. So the Constitution was written in, so what year?
Philadelphia.
Oh, in Philadelphia. Okay, yeah. In I don't even know how to spell it. Philadelphia. We'll just put Philly. There we go. And what year? What year was it written in? Let me see if I can.
1787.
Yes, 1787. There we go. I spelled it correctly. It was written in Philadelphia in 1787. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. And what are the first 3 words of the Constitution?
We the people.
Perfect. Are we the people? Right. And so just kind of to add on to this, what concept or a vocabulary word does we the people mean? What does it mean?
Self-government.
Yeah, self-government. So we the people means basically it explains the concept of self-government, right? We the people will choose our leaders. We the people will choose what laws we want, right? Okay, and then a change to the Constitution is called?
Amendments.
Yep. It's called, so change the Constitution is called, we'll say an amendment. Yep. So it's called an amendment. Perfect. All right, let me go to view, slideshow. Okay. So I believe next we will do the actual questions. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, so just a quick wrap up, just to understand everything. Right, so the Constitution is the highest law. The Constitution was written in 1787 by the founders, right, the founding fathers, whichever term you prefer. We the people, self-government, it explains that concept of self-government. And there are 27 amendments. Okay? Pretty understandable. And so really quickly we will look at the text of the Constitution before we go into our questions. And if you don't understand everything, that's fine, because barely anybody does. But this is the full text of the Constitution. Just to give you guys, I like to always show this when we talk about the Constitution, so that you kind of see what it looks like, right? Because it seems it does this, it does that, right? It makes more sense if you actually see it and read a little bit of it, right? So we have here, right, the Constitution of the United States, a transcription, so it just means that it's just the text of it. And so this part right here would be called what? What part is this?
A preamble.
A preamble. There we go. Yeah, the preamble. Yeah, so this would be called the preamble, this first part right here. All right, so the first three words are we the people, right? Most important part of the preamble. And so if you go down, there's the chapters, which are also called articles. They call them articles. Right? You have Article 1, right? And then you have different sections explaining different things. And it just keeps on going on and on just like this, right? So you have 10 sections in Article 1. Article 2 goes on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, right? And it's just basically, it's not very fun reading. It's not anything amazing. It's literally just Article 1, Section 1. All legislative, which means powers like to make laws, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. Basically just saying we will have a Senate and a House of Representatives, right? And then it says, for example, right, you have to be 25 years old to be a representative. Very basic stuff. So it's kind of just like talking about the rules of a sport, just saying, okay, you cannot use your hands. You must kick the ball only. Very basic stuff. Okay. Any questions about the text at all? All right. Pretty simple. Okay, so now this is the whole point why we're here. All right, so now we'll talk about, we'll go over the questions, right? The questions that you will need to know for your interview, that USCIS requires you to know for your citizenship interview. And then we will be done with our first lesson, okay? Very easy lesson to start off. All right, so practice for the test. This is question 2 out of 100. Okay, so the question number 2 will ask, what does the Constitution do?
Protects the rights of the people in the United States.
Yeah, protects the rights of the people in the United States. What else does it do? There's one other answer.
It sets the government.
Yeah, sets up the government. So sets up the government, but that's actually good. I will actually change this. Sets up the government and protects the rights of the people. All right? Perfect. Very simple. All right, so the Constitution, what does the Constitution do? Sets up the government and protects the rights of the people. Okay? That will be question 2 out of 100 that you might be asked in your interview. All right? All right, so question 3 out of 100 would ask, the idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are these words?
We the people.
Yeah, we the people. Simple enough, right? Okay, so question 4 out of 100 would ask, what is an amendment?
Means that
And the
change, means that change are the constitutions.
Yeah, so yeah, both of you said the same thing. Both Rosa and Daeli said the same thing, which are both correct. So a change to the Constitution. And just real quick, you don't need to know this now, but how many are there?
27.
27, perfect. All right, so question 7 out of 100 that you might get asked. How many amendments does the Constitution have? Oh, I just asked this one. Oops. How many does it have? 27, right? The Constitution has 27 amendments. Yeah. All right. Now, jumping ahead a little bit, they're kind of out of order. But question 65 out of 100, what happened at the Constitutional Convention?
The Constitution was written.
Yeah, perfect. The Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution, or you could also say the Constitution was written, right? Okay. Question 66 out of 100. And when was the Constitution written?
1787.
Oh, what was that?
Philadelphia.
On Philadelphia? Well, the question is asking when.
Oh, when? Oh, sorry.
1787.
Yeah, there we go. So when was it written would refer to the year, which was 1787. If I asked where was it written, then Philadelphia would be the correct answer. Right? Okay, and that's all the questions for this lesson. So only an hour, nothing crazy, very simple. Okay, and we're going to keep on going along just like this for the next 12 weeks until everyone understands U.S. history and the government, things about the government. All right. Any questions for me so far? Daeli, I will send you, right now, I will send you a link to the textbook. And to
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'll try to make sure that works. If it doesn't work from there, then I'll try to think of something else to do. Any questions before we go?
Mi amor, ¿quieres agua? ¿Su agua estaba ahí o no? ¿O se la llevó afuera? Uy, perdón.
No questions. All right. So with that being said, first class done. Wasn't too hard, right? So we will. I'll see you guys back here in Google Meet on Thursday, 6 p.m. All right. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night. Thank you. Thank you.